Okay, real talk. If you are a nurse who are thinking about travel nursing, you've probably heard about, a bunch of stuff about structure thing. And it's always the same vibe, one scary sentence in a comment section, or, now you're spiraling at 2 a.m. thinking like, wait, am I about to ruin my life? So today, I'm going to walk you through the top 20 myths about structure and basically how you work and have your own nursing practice, and not what's actually true, not in a lecture way, more of like, I'm telling you, I'm sharing you my experience and what I wish someone told me before I started. So if we haven't met yet, if this is the first time you see this video and this is the first time you watch my video, my name is Miles. I spent years as a registered nurse, then moved into travel nursing and eventually built my own structure so I could get paid like a nursing practice. And I'll be honest, when I first heard about structure, I didn't feel excited. I felt a little bit cautious because nursing teaches you to be careful, right? To be safe, to not mess up, to not take risks, to always ask questions, to always do your own research before jumping head on, right? But I also knew that I didn't want to stay capped forever. So here's the moment it really clicked for me. When I was on contract and another travel nurse, her name was or is Karen, got floated to emergency where I was working. So we're talking, in that quick in between chaos way that nurses talk, you know what I mean? And she casually says something like, "Yeah, you can set up your a nursing practice and get paid that way instead of getting paid like an employed staff nurse." And I remember thinking, wait, what? That's even an option? And that was my first real aha moment. Not because I understood every detail right there, but because it changed the way I saw the whole game. And after that, I started learning it the hard way, basically asking questions, getting clarity, building a system, and figuring out what was real and what was just noisy, right? And what are the distractions? So what I meant by structure. So when I say structure is I'm talking about setting yourself up to operate and get paid like a nursing practice, not just, picking up a travel contract. Same license, different lens, different system. That's it, right? So let's get into it so that we can get the hang of it. So myth number 1, structure is only for nurses who make huge money. And what's actually true? I get why people say this, but it's not the point for you to change the structure of how you get paid. Structure is about how you get paid and how you run your money, not just how big the money or the number is. Even one contract can teach you the system. And for me, the system is what created peace because now I'm in control of the money that I am getting. My pay is not capped and I can name my price. Well, not really, but at least it's way more than the capped price. So, myth number 2, it's basically tax cheating. What's actually true? No. So, if anything, structure forced me to be more organized actually. I now track my income, I now track my expenses, keep my receipts, report properly. The goal here is you need to be clean, and sometimes it's boring because it's the usual day-to-day tasks like bookkeeping. But hear me out. Boring is good, and most of the time, especially boring businesses are the one making good money. So don't disregard boring. Boring is good. Myth number 3, it's too risky. CRA will come after you. And what's actually true, the risk y- usually isn't the structure. The risk is doing it sloppy. So when I first started, I realized pretty quickly like if I mix my personal and practice spending, ignore the receipts and just guess, I'd be creating my own stress. So I did the opposite basically, and I built a system and I got professional guidance when I need it. And that is why I have the best accountant in town and also has a lawyer that I can connect with when I need them. So that's how powerful having your own practice. You get these professional people working for you. Myth number four, you need to be a finance person to do this. What's actually true? You don't need to be a finance person. I'm not sitting here pretending I love spreadsheets, which, spreadsheet, I don't think spreadsheet still exists because there's apps and software that all do all of this stuff, which what I use now. You just need to have a routine and a checklist. And then once you have this stuff, you have a system, you just need to go through it. You create your own system. And if it's not working for you, you change it because guess what? You own the system. And that's the beauty of it. Myth number five, it's paperwork every day. Well, what's actually true? Well, it's not a daily it's not a daily thing if you set it up right. But for me, it became a weekly habit. I upload my receipts, track my income, keep things separate. And the chaos happens when you ignore it for months and then you rush yourself and try to fix everything in one weekend. That's when you mess up. Okay? But having a system, having a checklist, and have templates ready, you are pretty much good to go and you're all set. Myth number six, you can't do travel nursing with structure. Here's what's actually true, you absolutely can. So many travel nurses operate as a nursing practice. Now, the key is confirming what each agency requires and what documents they need. And that's when you know if the agency that you are going to work with support nurses that has their own practice or they just support a normal employed travel nurses. So you need to know which agency accept nurses that has their own practice, right? Myth number seven is agencies hate it and won't work with you. So what's the actual truth? So some agencies are set up for it, some aren't. And it's not personal. This is why I always say don't rely on one agency. Have options. Ideally, at least 2 to 3 agencies. That's my recommendation. You need to have at least 2 to 3 agencies so you can compare and choose what fits your lifestyle and what fits your money goal. And everything will just go around it. Myth number eight, you lose job security. Here's what's actually true. So let's be honest, job security in healthcare can be an illusion. So, what felt more secure to me was basically building multiple agency relationships, a repeatable contract process, savings and set asides, the ability to walk away from bad situations and unsafe environment. And that's a different kind of security. But I know most nurses used to be, they feel secure when they have a full time job because they already have benefits, they have CPP or MPP or whatever pension plan that you think that will save you when you retire. Guess what? It won't save you because I don't want to say anything, I don't want to say any numbers, but just find out for yourself. Myth number nine is you need a lawyer and accountant before you do anything. Here's what's actually true. You don't need a full team on day one, but you need to know when to bring in a professional. A good accountant is usually one of the first smart move. And a lawyer is basically situational. If you have questions about legalities, then that's when you consult a lawyer. But for me, my first hire was getting the best accountant because your accountant will help you and guide you to the right direction when it comes to the financial side because they're the guy for numbers and you need to listen to them at the same time you need to know what you really want because once you know what you want then you tell your accountant this is what I want, will this work? And sometimes when you will know that your accountant is knowledgeable about this stuff because they can give you example scenarios and alternatives of what to do. But if your accountant is just kind of like faking it, then you know that their response is way off from the answers that you are expecting. So again, hire your first hire should be a good accountant that knows contracting, that knows about our market, our landscape, nursing, and you'll be good to go. Myth number 10. So if you do structure, you can write off everything. This is my favorite part. Here's what's actually true. This one made me laugh the first time I heard it. Because, of course, you can deduct legitimate practice expenses, not fantasy expenses. Because if you're unsure, don't guess. Ask your accountant. The goal is defensible, and you need to plan ahead before spending something, especially a big amount, or a big chunk of your money, because you need to justify that spend or that expenses is really a legitimate business expense. Is that expense help your business grow? Is it for marketing? Is it for, professional growth? These are the stuff that you need to plan ahead before committing it. And your accountant is there to guide you. Sounds good? Okay, myth number 11. You'll automatically keep way more money. Here's what actually true. Structure can improve your outcome, that's for sure, but it's not magic. Okay? So if you don't track money, you don't set aside proper money for tax, and you don't run a system, then you can still feel broke even with a higher rate. Because structure helps you when you actually operate like a nursing practice, not like act like you have a nursing practice. And that's where everything changes. Because once you have your own nursing practice, you have a system. You build your own system that works for you, works with you, and works without you. Okay? Myth number 12. Just copy what your friend does. Here's what's actually true. Your province, your contracts, your income, and your situation matter. You can learn from, other nurses, but don't copy paste. You know, get guidance for your specific setup, especially when it comes to financial side, ask your accountant. That's why, guess what your first hire is? Accountant. Okay? Myth number 13. You have to quit your staff job completely. Here's what's actually true. Not always, actually. The answer is not always. Some nurses transition gradually. Some just jump off, head on first. You need to test it if this lifestyle is really for you. If you are really willing to, you know, take all the stress, which is basically once you have the system, the stress goes with it, right? You need to build confidence in order for you to run a proper and confident nursing practice. Then from there, you scale up when you are ready. And that's how you do it. If you're not ready to fully commit on it, then don't. Just slowly transition yourself. You can still, step down to being a part-time and then do travel nursing on the side, but you just need to find when you are ready. Okay? Myth number 14. You'll never get approved for mortgages, which is, let's find out. Here's what's actually true. Approval is about documentation and consistency. Some lenders understand contract income better than others. And, if home ownership is your goal, which for me is not, you can plan for it. So you can have a clean bookkeeping, consistent income history, a proper documentation. This is just for you to show the bank that you have a consistent income. It doesn't really matter if you are employed, as long as you have a consistent income for this length period, that you have a history, you have a good credit, you have cash on the side. Because no matter, as long as you have cash on hand, the lenders will see you differently because they know and they will feel based on like how you present yourself that you know what you're talking about and you can always come up with money. Okay? All the lenders need to know is how good can you pay your mortgage or your loan or your credit? Because if you have a track record, then, the lenders won't ask. You have your cash, you have a track record, you have your proper documentation, then the lenders will hopefully approve you actually. So, but don't take my word for it. Talk to mortgage professionals who understand contract work, because the rate for, let's say, a down payment, if you can purchase it cash, is different from a normal person to from a nurse who has a nursing practice, because that's considered a business. Sometimes the rates are different when it comes to um, a down payment. So ask the mortgage professionals who understand contract work, and you go from there. Okay, if owning a house is really your goal, and you ask multiple mortgage professionals and it doesn't work, then you know you adjust and you direct which is better for you, right? Myth number 15. So if you focus on money, you're less of a nurse. Here's what's actually true. Wanting fair pay and freedom doesn't make you less caring. Honestly, for me, having more control over my schedule and income reduce burnout. And when you're less burnt out, you show up better. That's why every time I show up to work, I'm always smiling. I always have this positive vibe. I always have this positive attitude. Because once your vibe and your attitude is positive, it basically changes everything. Like, sometimes when you work with another nurse, you know what I'm talking about, that there is always a nurse who are always toxic, no matter the situation is. Give that nurse one patient, he could be toxic the whole shift. But here you are, you show up, good vibes, big smile, and you're excited to to do your thing. Then it changes the whole game. So you can be patient centered and still run a nursing practice, because now you don't worry about like, why I'm here again, right? Myth number 16. Structure is only for entrepreneurs or personalities. Here's what's actually true. You don't need to be loud or salesy. You just need to be willing to follow a process, ask better questions, and protect your time and energy. That's it. Period. Myth number 17. If you mess up once, you're done. Okay, so here's what's actually true. Most mistakes are fixable. The key is catching them early and asking questions sooner. So, perfection isn't the goal, basically. It's just having the right system that works for you. That's why having your first hire, a good accountant, will set you up 50% most of the time, that will guide you through a better in having a good nursing practice, because the accountant will protect you from getting audited by CRA. Your accountant will guide you in how to disseminate or distribute your money and how you can get paid. Which one is better. It could be dividend or it could be payroll. Your accountant is there to guide you, because that's their main job, is to get your financial stuff organized. Okay? Myth number 18. You don't need insurance. Your agency covers everything. Hmm. Here's what's actually true, because I've worked with different multiple agencies, and I'm going to share with you my take on this, okay? Coverage varies. Okay? So often agencies and licensing bodies have certain coverage in place, but you still want to understand your gaps. So depending on your province, there can be extra registrations to consider, like WorkSafe BC in British Columbia. When operating as a nursing practice, you need to have this in place, especially if you are incorporated. WorkSafe BC is non negotiable. Have this. And, you know, it doesn't matter if you're the only employee, you just need to have an account with WorkSafe BC, because when something happens, when you get injured at work, WorkSafe BC is there to help you. Okay? Don't guess, ask, and get proper advice. Myth number 19. You only need one agency. So here's what's actually true. One agency can work. It does, until it doesn't, right? But having two to three agencies gives you leverage, rate comparison, better schedules, backup options. A nursing practice doesn't rely on one pipeline. Okay, it relies on different or multiple agencies so that you can compare rates, and that way you don't get desperate of getting that contract because you have two other agencies that is asking for you, right? If you don't get the first contract from negotiation and all that stuff, then take the next agency or take the last one, right? Myth number 20. Once you set up structure, you're locked in forever. So here's what's actually true. You're not trapped. So you can adjust your life changes, as your life change along the way, you can always adjust and, refocus. But here's what it means. You can take fewer contracts, you can take more if you want, you can switch provinces. That's why I highly recommend that you have your business registered federally and at the same time provincially, so that when you move provinces, you don't need to worry about those stuff. You just need to register to which province you're going to go next. You can shift goals, right? Structure is not a tool. You are basically still in control of everything. Okay? So let's wrap this up. And here's the real truth behind all of it. Here's the big, takeaways for this video. And I hope you learned something out of this. Most of the fear around structure comes from people treating it like a mystery or a magic. But when you look at it like a nursing practice, it's not a mystery. It's basically just a process. And the nurses who do best aren't the ones who know everything. They're the ones who basically just follow the steps, in order, keep things clean, and don't try to do it alone. That's why having a community is vital to all of this. Okay. But if you want the step by step, roadmap to build your structure, get contract ready, and start operating like a real nursing practice, I want to invite you. Come join us at frontlinershub.com. Inside the hub, we will walk you through the process in order, give you checklists, templates, and support, with coaching. So you're not trying to piece this together from random comments. And basically, even though you ask ChatGPT will give you a bunch of suggestions. I tried it. So if you want, come join us. You can ask questions, you can connect with other travel nurses who have their own practice and go from there. I hope you like this video and you learned something out of this. So if this video helped, hit like, subscribe, and comment structure and tell me what province you're in. Then I'll know what videos to make next. See you on the next one. Ciao, ciao.